Now, it's been an interesting weekend in the Premier League. The events at Newcastle, of course, are in a category of their own, and I'll deal with that. We'll deal with that later on. That was more than a football game, and Newcastle United is probably more than a football club. But I'm joined now by John Giles to talk about the football that was really fascinating. John, maybe we might start with Chelsea. They are top of the league this morning, just ahead of Liverpool. They went to Brentford, who had, in their last home game, taken 2 points off Liverpool. And Chelsea got out of there with a 1-0 win. But it took a hell of a performance from the goalkeeper and the defenders to stay ahead.
Yeah, I thought Brentford came back really well, Eamon. Chelsea were lucky to get away with it.
They were,
The goalkeeper did his stuff, defenders did their stuff, that's what they're there for. But again, they were impressive, Brentford, coming back at them. They could have got, if they got a draw from it, it wouldn't be a bad result for them. Or, you know what I mean? They on the game, I thought they deserved a draw.
Yeah, I mean, Chelsea were impressive in the first half.
Yes.
And I thought Brentford, well, they're struggling here. But they came back in the second half with real intensity, some decent play. This big centre forward, Tony, with the hair tied up in a bun, he's a hell of a battler.
Yeah, he's a great presence up there, Eamon. He works really well.
Yeah.
He's got the stocky lad beside him, I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
It was really, really good pair between them. You know, they're like the old-fashioned, target man and lad playing off him.
Yes.
And they do it really, really well. And he looks an awkward lad.
Yeah, but he's difficult to play against. But
difficult to play against, Eamon. And his game, he has a go all the time. And they've been very, very impressive, Brentford. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and they look like they might be able to stay in the division for quite some time. I was also impressed by Thomas Tuchel when he talked about the game before and afterwards. He's an impressive character. He doesn't have that sort of angry look. When he was asked about his team selection and why he wasn't playing, he said it's different after an international week because he'd left Mason Mount out of the starting 11, though he came on later on. This fella seems to... There's a nice personality about him. He's not hostile to interviewers. He's respectful and he has a sense of humour. A bit like Klopp, he has that touch about him that, not like Mourinho or Ferguson, barking at guys, walking away. He's quite happy to discuss it in a reasonable manner.
Yeah, he seems a good fella, Eamon. He gives credit where credit's due, which you don't see from much. From many managers, including Mr. Klopp.
Yeah.
But, he's different to the rest of them. He looks at it from both sides. He gives an honest answer to it. He doesn't get upset about anything. And I think it's one of the main things that makes him what he is as a coach. I'd say he's the same with the players.
Yeah.
No messing about. There's no easy-ozy stuff.
No.
He says it as he sees it. And, again, we've spoke about it before, the amount of match players are playing, Eamon. It's very difficult for the coaches or the managers now to really know what's the best team coming on the Saturday or the weekend. Haven't been away for so long. But he's managed it well. He had a bit of luck. I thought he had a bit of luck at the weekend, but good luck to him for that. But he has been impressive, there's no doubt.
Timo Werner came to the club from Germany where he was, an international goal scorer, prolific goal scorer, and he struggled. Tuchel played him in a different position now. He's not playing wide on the left of a front three. He's more in the centre and he comes deeper. And I thought he played really well in the last couple of matches I've seen because he's got good feet. He's got pace. Now, he's not scoring goals and he's not a player you'd go out of your way to buy. But the coach is playing him in a different position and it's working out better for him. He's in the game more.
Yeah, well, he's got, as you say, he's gone deeper, Eamon. I think watching him, I haven't watched him for a while now. I think when he's on the pitch, Eamon, no matter what position he's in, he doesn't really know where he is.
Yeah.
And particularly playing up front, you have to know where you are all the time.
Yes.
And if you look at his record, I mean, he's been offside, I think, more than any other player.
Yes, he's lightning, but he goes too early.
Yeah, but he doesn't know when he's aiming. Like, for a centre forward, like, once the attack is broken down,
yes.
I think, any forward, the first thing they should do is, right, I've got to get onside now.
Yes.
I don't think it enters his head, aiming that.
No.
Now, that's a bad sign.
Yeah.
When you're talking about professional footballers at any level, but particularly at that level, that he doesn't do that.
Yeah. The goalkeeper, Mendy, was man of the match. And they've had a few dodgy goalkeepers and a few great ones, I have to say, over the years. But nobody ever proved how important goalkeepers are more than this guy on Saturday. Time after time, he was in the right place and showed a lot of courage.
Yeah, I think he is a good goalkeeper.
He is, yeah.
Since he's come into the team there, it's so important, as we know, to have a good goalkeeper in there. But the lad they had before him, do you remember, he wouldn't come off for the penalty shootout and that.
Ariza Balaga.
Yeah.
He was hopeless.
And they paid a lot of money for him.
They
but
did,
luckily enough, they didn't stay with him. They went out and they got this lad.
Yeah.
And he's really good. Really, really. No fuss. You find all the top keepers, Eamon, there's no fuss about them.
No.
They just get on with the job and do their saves and do what they have to do.
Yeah.
No show off. And this lad is really, really good. He's very impressive.
Speaking of goalkeepers, by the way, we have a new Irish star, Gavin Bazuma. He threw one in on Saturday after playing.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
After playing so well for Ireland. He's playing for Portsmouth. And they were playing Rotherham. And he threw one in. So, well, maybe
he's on loan there, Eamon, isn't he?
He's on loan there
from City. Yeah.
Now let's move on to Manchester United, John. The match with Leicester, I watched it. I know you did. First of all, let's start with the team. People have been complaining about the inconsistency in selection, and particularly been complaining about Fred in midfield with McTominay. So he changed that. He started Sancho, who hasn't always started. This is a very good player, young player, teenager they bought from Dortmund and Greenwood. He started with Pogba and Matic in midfield, which is crazy. I think Matic's legs he can't get around anymore. He brought Maguire back from injury with Lindelof, and I think Leicester killed him. There's a problem. He's the problem, isn't he, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer?
Yeah, well, I think he just picks a team, Eamon. If you look at the standard of players that he has, I mean, he's got a terrific group of players there. There's no doubt about it. But it's how you play them and what you expect from them. I mean, it was amazing after the match. I mean, the man that came on the television, right, to say about, well, we have to make changes, it was Pogba.
Yes. I mean,
Pogba he's one of the main
culprit.
Yeah. He's a culprit in this whole situation. And I think Ronaldo made a statement as well.
Yeah.
Like when you see players doing that, they've no respect for the manager for a start.
Yeah.
But then again, the manager has to earn the respect. And if you get Pogba coming out saying, look, there has to be changes here.
Yeah.
And he's one of the main culprits in the whole situation.
Yeah.
So it's just wrong.
It has to be said about Pogba, John, and Matic. I mean, Leicester have a very lively midfield. Tielemans, Maddison, they have really good and mobile players. And of course, you've always got Jamie Vardy and Nacho up front. But Pogba and Matic as a pair, John, Pogba can't really, he's no change of pace, even if he's trying. Now, I watched him play twice for France in the Nations League and they won it. He's a more disciplined and hungry fighter when he's playing for France than when he's playing for Manchester United, his club, which is a shocking indictment of him, really. He's a regular for Didier Deschamps, is the great French coach. Well, he's great because he's won the World Cup with players that I wouldn't have in the side. And, of course, he was a great player, captain of the French team that won the World Cup. But he puts up with Pogba, but he does have to work a lot harder, John. But the situation I want to ask you about is this. Last week, he's looking for a 400,000, well, he's been offered a £400,000 a week contract by Manchester United, which he hasn't signed. He's a free agent at the end of this season. And 2 weeks ago, he said, or he was quoted as saying, his agent said, he loves Juventus. he'd love to go back to Juventus. And last week, he loves Real Madrid. He's got a special place in his heart for Real Madrid. Now, I saw Juventus last night. You probably have better things to do, but I watched Juventus to beat Roma 1-0. That's Mourinho's new team. Juventus are hopeless, John. They're old men. There's no way he's going back to Juventus. But can you, Manchester United Football Club, have a player who's out of contract at the end of the summer, and he's acting the maggot with statements, or his agent is, every single week? How bad is that? Disrespectful to his teammates, disrespectful to Manchester United. And, of course, this is all part of the results process, isn't it? It comes out in the wash.
Yeah. Well, it shouldn't happen, Eamon, or it shouldn't be happening at Manchester United. I mean, if you run the club the way it should be run, in my opinion, which is to have the best team on the field, doing the best for Manchester United, then when you have a player like that, he obviously doesn't have his heart in Manchester United.
No, obviously not.
Well, then he has to go.
Yeah.
You see, but again, you come back to this point. Is Solskjaer in a position to make that decision? Definitely not.
No, his agent is.
So, yeah, but like Pogba is, of course, the agent is doing the work, but the people who are running Manchester United, like the manager should have, if you go back over the years when Ferguson was the manager, would Ferguson put up with this situation with Pogba?
Not for 5 minutes.
He wouldn't have it at all. Now, the fact is, Solskjaer is the manager, or supposed to be the manager, or whatever he's the coach. But anybody that's managing Manchester United should be in a position to say, I don't want this guy.
Yeah.
He's no good for the club. I want him out.
Yeah.
Solskjaer doesn't have that power.
Right. Yeah.
Whoever's running Manchester United, and they're dealing with Pogba, what they're dealing from, in my opinion, is a money situation.
Yes.
Right. We've got to get him on a new contract, because if he goes up to Christmas, he can go as a free agent.
Yeah.
Right. This is a player they spent 90 million
euros on. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So I think they're trying to protect the financial situation by getting him on a new contract.
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's what I think is happening. And I don't think Solskjaer has any say in that whatsoever.
Right.
So he plays him.
Yes.
And you get what you get. You go back to the situation you said in France. See, when he plays for France, Eamon, obviously he's in the spotlight from the French people.
Yeah.
And how often does he play for France, Eamon?
A half dozen times a year.
You know what I mean?
Max,
so now he can really play. There's nothing to lose and something to gain.
Yeah.
And he's playing for France, because all the other teams will see him and say, look at the way he's playing for France. He's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
And we can get him for nothing.
Yeah.
And United are trying to protect that.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, Manchester United suffer.
Yes. Yeah. And they are suffering through terminal embarrassment. Ronaldo won't be happy and doesn't look happy. He's walked back to a club. I mean, he clearly loves the club and Ferguson and the great times they had. And he clearly, Ferguson was a mentor. But what he's walked back into now is not the club that Alex Ferguson managed in any way, is it? No. And don't forget him, since he's left Manchester United, I think he's been with really good managers. Oh, yeah. Really top-class managers, you know. I mean, he's winning trophies, winning the European Championship a few times at Real Madrid. Yeah. You know, so he's used to that. Yes. And he's a pro. He's a real pro, as we know. Yes. You know, but when he comes back and sees what's going on now. Yes. You know, like, you'd say, what the hell's going on here? Yeah, and that's what I think, anyway. You know. No, well, Solskjaer left him on the bench a couple of games ago, didn't start him, and Ferguson was caught on tape saying you don't leave your best, you always start your best team. Yeah. In other words, implicitly having a go at Solskjaer. It doesn't look like anything can save him, and meanwhile they're dropping points they shouldn't be dropping. And Leicester gave them a right whopping, just to say of Leicester. And Jamie Vardy in particular, John. Maddison is a very good player. He's back now because he had a bad season last season, Maddison, with injuries and form. Vardy's wonderful, isn't he? Yeah, he's a great lad. Yeah. He's a real pro, I mean. Like when you see Vardy play, this is what you expect pros to play like. Yeah. And we'll go back to Pogba and other players, certain players on the Manchester United team, but particularly Pogba. You know, you can't say,
about Pogba. Oh, look at the way he plays. Isn't he a great lad? He gives everything for the team every week. You know, Vardy is that type of lad. He scored in goals. I think he's 34 now. But he plays everything for the team, eh? And that's what you want. Well, every club that's successful have players like that. So you can't go. And the thing you mentioned too about Leicester, I mean, up to Saturday, they've been having a bad time.
Having a very bad season, yeah, very bad time, John. And Brendan Rodgers, well, he had a few of his best players back yesterday, but they have had a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
And they have got some very good players when they're all fit. Maddison being one of them. Now, John, and of course Brendan Rodgers was quick off the mark to say he'd no interest in the Newcastle job. But we'll come to that in a minute. Liverpool, John, 5-0 at Watford and Mo Salah. Now, this is another odd situation. The Liverpool owners, Fenway Sports Group, have not yet agreed a contract with Mo Salah, who's looking for 300,000 a week, which, when you look at what others are earning, is a very reasonable demand. He's on less than 200,000 at the moment. John, this could be really bad for Liverpool, and I think it might cause Jurgen Klopp to think twice. They're not giving Salah the contract he wants at the moment. Now, I don't know the fine details. Well, you're a great judge, the best judge of footballers. I think, John, he's gone up a notch this year or more in the last 6 months even. He's wonderful, isn't he?
He's a great lad, Damon.
Yeah.
He's a great lad. He has been for years. You know, there was a time last year, I doubted his attitude. I thought he was trying to get away. But anyway, that's done and gone. But when you put him in a position, or he is in a position at Liverpool, I mean, Liverpool should be down on their hands and knees.
They should be, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Tell him, will you please sign this contract?
Yeah. And write the figure in yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what do you want?
Yeah.
What more? Like, what more can he do for the club, Eamon, to prove that he deserves this particular situation?
Yeah.
And I'd say Klopp. I'd say it could be if it gets to a stage, Eamon, where they don't sign him up.
Yeah, I think
let him go.
Klopp will have to think. What am I doing here?
I'd say he'd go.
Yeah.
I mean, Klopp is making a case for him now.
Yes.
Because he went out of his way to say he's world class, and he has been, you know, really gone out of his way. And this is, in my opinion, to put pressure. He obviously believes it, but to put pressure on the owners to say, come on, don't mess me about. I mean, if you let him go,
yes,
I'd say if they let him go, Eamon, Klopp would go.
I think you're right. I've thought that for several months now. Just to take the goal he scored was magic, but the pass for the first goal to Mane with the outside of his left foot was absolutely divine, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was just the right pace. Not the easiest of passes, as we know, but just the right pace with the outside of his left foot. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer, Emma, but it shows you what's happening in football nowadays.
Yeah. That
the situation that managers had, well, some of the time anyway, to say, right, sign this guy up quickly. And it's, whatever it is at Liverpool, it's like all the other clubs now, or most of the other clubs. It's a money situation. The fellas who are making the decision saying, well, you know, he's 30 now.
He's 29 at the moment, coming up to 30. And how long can we get out of him and all that?
Yeah.
They have a
I think 30, Eamon, is the big mark for them.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Regardless of the player, regardless of his fitness or anything else and how he's playing, it's 30. It seems to be. That's the magic figure. We don't go beyond that. That's why Wijnaldum left, didn't they? Let him go.
Yeah, they let Wijnaldum go. Wijnaldum was 30, and I think Wijnaldum was a fabulous player. A lot of work unseen. He wasn't spectacular, but he was a really fabulous player, and would be, I'd say, one of the first names on Klopp's team sheet. Yeah. Ironically, John, he's gone to PSG and he can't get a game.
Yeah, well, you wouldn't know what's going on.
Well,
you wouldn't know what's going on there.
They've got Verratti, you see, in midfield. Yeah. But anyway, you wouldn't know what's going on there. Now,
but the thing is, Eamon, if you look at the great players over the years, the really great players, they reached their peak only when they're 30.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. No.
You know what I mean? Look at Ronaldo is still gone.
Yeah.
Messi is still gone. All the great players over the years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go well into can go well into their 30s.
How long over 30 were you when you stopped being a great player? If that's not a strange question to ask.
Well, when I stopped playing, Eamon, I actually played in the Irish team. I was picking the team.
Yeah.
I think when I was 38.
Wow. Yeah, and I couldn't get in, and you would never pick me. No wonder. I played in the same position.
I tried to pick you when you were 38, and you told me you were finished playing.
And I mean, say when you were 33, were you still?
Well, I moved from Leeds to West Brom when I was 34.
Right. Okay. And when you left Leeds, the last couple of seasons, you were still as good as ever.
Well, I think so. Well, Jimmy Armfield didn't think so, but I probably did. Well, I went on to West Brom and played from there, Eamon. You know, I could. You only do what you can do. I mean, if Don Revy said that, he might have kept me at least. Managers do that. They change and they make changes in that. It didn't bother me. It was a lease of life as well, Eamon. It was a new challenge, you know.
Yeah, Ranieri's back at Watford, the Tinker Man, John. He's got a hell of a job. The question I really want to ask you is, Firmino got a hat-trick, which I was happy because he's been out of the side, he's been injured. I think Liverpool are playing fantastic football. It's flowing stuff. But you're a more level-headed person than me. Tell me, I suppose you'll tell me that we'll know this day next week, because they're playing Manchester United at Old Trafford next Sunday. If they play that kind of football, they could do some damage at Old Trafford, couldn't they?
They're playing well, then. They're playing really good.
Yeah.
But you'd have to not take away from Saturday.
Because of the opposition, yeah.
They were hopeless, Eamon.
Yeah,
they were hopeless. Now, Liverpool, it doesn't matter how hopeless the other team are. You have to do them.
Yeah.
And that's what they did. There's no doubt. Liverpool played them off the pitch. Could have been anything in the game. And Liverpool are a terrific team. Obviously, if you're playing the best teams, it's going to be more difficult.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But, I mean, they did what they had to do against Watford.
Yeah.
And did it extremely well. And that's all you can judge them on.
Danny Rose was marking Salah. Danny Rose was a very good player for Spurs and for England. He looked way overweight, John.
Oh, yeah.
And totally slow. He was the one marking Mo Salah. And it was rather sad, actually. He fell out of favour at Spurs. I think he's got a bit about him, a bit of good character, and he may have spoken out of turn against Daniel Levy. But whatever happened, he was bombed out of Spurs and bombed out of the England team. I think he's a good lad, but he got a terrible roast. And it's sad to see a player who's been as good as he was and has a good character, overweight and out of form.
It's very sad, Eamon. It's one of the saddest things in football when you can look back and say when he was at Spurs. And I think he certainly had a bit about him off the pitch, Eamon. He took Levy on.
He did, yeah, exactly.
He took Levy on when the wages, they were paying him next to nothing on the wages, and he was the only one to do it. And of course he was chucked out and went to Newcastle after that. So, I mean, he did make a stand, and I think he was right in relation to what the players were earning at Spurs at that particular time.
Yeah.
But sad to see anybody, an old pro, not being what they were. Very sad.
Who'd been a good pro. And speaking of sadness, we'll come to Newcastle now and Steve Bruce. Just before we do, I'm reading this statement out on behalf of myself and the Stand, and it's not a statement that I've written, but it's a sentiment that I believe in. The Premier League has a fitness to own clubs clause in its charter, and they have allowed a Saudi consortium to take over. It's the Saudi Public Investment Fund, and they have taken over Newcastle Football Club. It is a red line crossed in a way, because there are some pretty shady and ruthless people who own clubs in the Premier League. On behalf of myself as a journalist, I want to point out, as I've done in the Star, the newspaper I work for, this morning, that these people are not fit to own anything. They murdered Jamal Khashoggi, who's a journalist writing for the Washington Post and living in Washington. They executed him in their embassy in Istanbul. They flew 15 thugs in and they killed him. The Turkish authorities had the building bugged. And the CIA and the UN found that the critical person in all of this was Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, known as MBS. And they did that dreadful thing. MBS is believed to be the person who sanctioned the takeover of Newcastle United Football Club through a public investment fund. And that is a moment that soccer people should reflect on, and some do. But that ship of integrity has sailed, as Graham Souness incidentally said. He said the Saudi takeover means the Premier League is morally bankrupt, and in many ways it is. One has to say that the UK government, the USA government, do business with Saudi Arabia, and indeed this particular fund that is taking over Newcastle also hold a stake in Uber, Facebook, Disney, and as one journalist in the UK said yesterday, nobody ever yells Khashoggi at you when you get in an Uber taxi. Log on to social media on Facebook or take the kids to see Frozen too. So it's important that we say that. But just to go back to the football, this is on my own behalf and the people I work with here. Just in terms of the football, it's very, very sad to see Steve Bruce, who it was his 1,000th game as a coach yesterday. He was a wonderful captain of Manchester United when Alex Ferguson was there, and is a real good football man. He found himself in a terrible situation yesterday. Yeah, it's been coming a long time for him, Eamon. Unfortunately, he's I don't know, Steve. I've met him once or twice. Good, really nice fella. Yes. And he's caught up in it. Eamon. Yes. He went in there with the other guy who wasn't great either. Well, different type. Mike Ashley, who wrecked the club. He did nothing really for Newcastle United. Yeah. He was more interested in trying to build it up to sell it away. But Steve Bruce was caught in it in the middle of it, Eamon, as we know, and he's done well to keep him in the Premiership with what he has. Yeah. But obviously that's not good enough, and because he worked for Sunderland before, the Newcastle fans wouldn't take to him at all. So he's had a pretty bad time there. There's no doubt about it. But I think the sooner he gets out or he's pushed out, the better for himself. Yeah, and he'll probably get which he deserves for keeping him in the division, a settlement. John, looking at their team and the number of points they have, and the fact that John Joe Shelby is still playing for them, got a red card yesterday, and isn't the most reliable. They're in the bottom three. Whoever takes over there, and coaches like Brendan Rodgers and one or two others haven't been slow to distance themselves from this poison chalice. They could well go down, for starters. Oh, they could do. Yeah. They could do, Eamon. You never know what's going to take over now with the new takeover. I don't think he's going to be there, Steve Bruce. I think they'll get him. They'll get rid of him. And it's going to be very, very difficult for any manager coming in to do it. I think they have enough players, Eamon, if they're managed well, to escape the relegation. Yeah. I think so. But it's going to be a big job. But from Steve Bruce's point of view, I think maybe getting beaten yesterday might be one of the best things for him, Eamon. Yeah, I saw the Saudi group there, and I saw their faces when they saw the fans and the degree of passion that the fans generated for the team, and they were all smiles. Anton Deck were in the VIP
Yes, I saw them there,
seats. Yeah. And the guy who is the head of this investment fund was there for a day out, and he was beaming, and then they scored the goal. Actually a very good player, Callum Wilson, who may well be there if they become something, because he is a really good player. He signed him from Bournemouth. But they were all smiles when the goal went in and before the game. And then when Spurs scored 3, they cut back to your man, the boss of the public investment fund, and he looked heavy. He looked angry, and he looked like a guy who would be about to make some big decisions. But
definitely. definitely. But you have to see on the football thing yesterday.
Yes.
I mean, Spurs were very good.
They were, and Harry Kane got his first goal of the season.
Yeah, and he took it really. It was real Kane goal. I mean, using his intelligence and his ability to do what needed to be done.
Yes.
I was impressed with Spurs yesterday.
Yeah, well, this coach is very good. He did a great job at Wolves, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
Espiritu Nuno Sanctus or whatever. Sounds like a blessing, but he is a good coach. He always encourages his teams to play the right way. Like every other coach at Tottenham, John, it's a question of whether he can manage to cope with the stuff that the owner throws at them, you know?
Yeah, that's a big deal for him, really, to say. But I thought Spurs, like, even from in the short spell, Eamon would go down a lot with the spirit and that, but that wasn't the case yesterday. And all the controversy about Harry Kane.
Yes.
Actually, they went one down and finished up playing really, really well and gave them a hiding, really, Newcastle.
And I have to say, John, given what he's been through in the summer, Harry Kane, and the hopes he must have had to go to a club that were really contending for trophies and get away from that awful man, Levy. He's a good character and a good pro. Like, he looks like he's back and he's going to make the best of what he's got.
Oh, definitely, yeah. He's been great over the last few years.
Yes,
his attitude has been good. The Spurs haven't been all that great, and he's gone out and done his stuff for England. And I think he's really, really top class. Well, he's top class player, as we know. Yeah. But to go through that, and come out and still do his stuff for Spurs, it shows you what a character he is. Good character.
And there's good and bad in all things in life. And in football, it's important that we have people like Harry Kane and celebrate them when we have them. Very grateful to John. John, thanks for joining us today.